and I'd like to highlight it. Maine does not have disclosure laws, you said, that would allow us to understand the full magnitude of the spending against your bill to regulate these flame retardants. We know that the chemical industry hired many of the state's top-paid lobbyists and public relations groups. They proceeded to pay for several weeks of high-saturation television and newspaper advertising across the state urging defeat of the chemical ban. They ran 27 full-page ads in the state's largest newspapers. And in addition to weeks of television ads, they purchased radio spots, direct mail to voters, and paid robocalls. Was this all done through the front group? Or was some of it done in the name of the chemical companies?
In Maine, it was all done through a front group called by Keep America Safe,
Okay, so
which has been replaced by Citizens for Fire Safety.
Yeah, the chemical industry front group, which did all of this, right? Yeah. At the time was called Keep America Fire Safe, since renamed Citizens for Fire Safety, as you've said. Despite their name, during their time before the Maine legislature, the chemical industry and its allies had no support from state fire safety groups or fire professionals. Keep America Fire Safe even paid for an ad that claimed Maine legislators were seeking to weaken fire safety, accompanied by video of a burning house. You can imagine what that would look like. The ad urged the public to call their legislators and tell them to vote against these proposed changes for the sake of fire safety. You also noted that flame retardant bans, your legislation, were strongly supported by Maine's fire professionals, including the State Fire Chiefs Association and the major state firefighters union, the International Association of Firefighters. Both groups, you say, worked aggressively for the bill's passage, and the firefighters spoke passionately about the negative impacts of these chemicals on firefighter health. I gather there was one group that went with the chemical industry. It was called the National Association, a national, not Maine association, the National Association of State Fire Marshals, which received pro bono work from the public relations firm that was representing the chemical companies, and received significant financial support from those chemical companies, and then turned around and lobbied for more stringent state flammability standards, which would require more flame retardant chemicals. That would appear to be a conflict of interest.
And I will say, speaking directly to the National Fire Marshals Association, at the time we were working on our bill in Maine, John Dean, our state fire marshal in Maine, was the head of the National Fire Marshals Association and was prepared to testify against our bill. He works for the governor, and he was somewhat outed for their relationship in Washington with the flame retardant industry, and he either ended up testifying neither for nor against or actually supporting the legislation. But we had uncovered this relationship, which was obviously a huge conflict for the state fire marshals, who at the time were receiving significant funding from the chemical companies who produce flame retardants. So that was a relationship that obviously was not working for the benefit of public health or fire safety.
It just strikes me, Madam Chair, that this is what Rhode Islanders, at least, hate about politics and about the manipulation of politics. It's really got all the ingredients. You've got a lack of disclosure, and we just went through this big exercise on the Disclose Act in Washington to try to put a little bit of sunlight into who's spending $1 million, $2 million, $4 million to achieve special interest influence around here, and we were defeated, unfortunately. You've got sort of high-intensity bombardment of the public by the special interests. You've got dishonesty in the way it's done with what looks to me like a phony group that's set up just for the purpose of pretending to represent fire safety interests when it truly actually supports chemical company interests. You've got all sorts of lobbyists and maneuverers involved. You've got legitimate associations that have lent themselves to conflict of interest and are now, unfortunately, perhaps working more consistent with the conflict of interest than with the true interests of the fire marshals around the country. And the result was that, what happened?
Well, I mean, you point out, like the people in Rhode Island, the people of Maine didn't buy it. They didn't call us. They didn't tell us to vote against this bill. And the bill ended up passing nearly unanimously in the House and Senate. Republicans, Democrats, all supported it because they didn't want to be on the wrong side of protecting kids, protecting pregnant women, protecting people's health. And I think we made a strong case. And despite a lot of money, we still won. And so certainly that's what we're hoping to see in your committee.
So
today.
congratulations. Sometimes the good guys can win despite all of the machinations of special interests.
Yeah.